Welcome, guys. We're back at Ghost and Friends again. We have a special rival guest tonight. We have JP at Indy_Sooner on Twitter. A lot of you guys know him. JP, welcome to Ghost and Friends, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. It's a blessing to be here, and you've been on our show, and you've had my brother Trav on here too. So I'm glad I get my chance to come to the 40 acres.
Hey, there we go. Well, welcome, man. Definitely going to have you and Brother Trav on here really, really soon. I will say thank you to you as well, JP. Kind of funny how it all works out, man. I talked a little bit on a separate episode of this channel about how my brother was really pushing me to kind of get into the podcasting realm and to check it out. And over a couple years, man, I mean, every time I saw the guy, he was like, dude, go do it. Go do it. You know, this is something that you'd have fun doing and that you could do. And so finally, man, in June, like I pray about it one night and I'm like, is this something that I need to get into? And I kid you not, the very next day is when Trav hits me up and he's like, hey, JP can't make it tonight. Do you want to fill in on our show? And I obviously at the time I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do that, but hey, let's go for it. I wanted to do it. You know, I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, went for it. I had that opportunity because of you and Travis, and things went great. And, you know, here we are a couple months later, got my own channel, got you on here, have had Trav on here. And so thank you, man. But yeah, tell us a little about JP and Trav. How long have y'all been doing that, man?
Yeah. So we've been doing the JP and Trav show here for about going on almost 3 years now. It's crazy. Thinking, we started really in the fall of well, I guess 2.5 years. I think we started like in the fall of 2021. So almost three fall of 2021, and then you know here we are, kind of in 2024. Just can't believe it's been this long, to be honest with you. But yeah, that I mean, Trav and I, we had chatted a bit through the pandemic, and I started my Twitter account back in 2019, and similar kind of thing. I had people pushing me that you always know your stuff, you always know your stats, you always know this and that. Man, why don't you tap in on social media, try it out? And I was like, and so I did, and 2019, I gained some followers pretty quick, and then I tapped into the YouTube space, and that caught my boy Travis's eye. He just felt like he liked what I had to say, and he called me one day, and from there we just kind of hit it off. To be honest, we became pretty close friends. I had him on the show, which was just like the Indie Sooner show at that time. Had him on like 2 or 3 weeks in a row, and our chemistry was just great. And we turned it at that point into the JP and Trav show in 2021. And he's become like a brother to me, truly. Like know each other's families, and so it's honestly just like doing it with one of my best friends every Thursday night, which is pretty cool to say. So that's kind of a little bit of our story.
Absolutely, man. I love to hear it. That's the most that I have heard about your story. I knew there had to be a little bit there, and just knowing how y'all came to know one another is awesome. I have a great deal of respect for you both. Texas fans viewing this right now, I've seen a few of you get into it with old JP here on the timeline, and brother Trav as well. But I will say that behind the gross colors they wear, these are stand-up gentlemen, both Travis Davidson and JP right here, top-notch guys that I'm happy to vouch for, and it's great to know them. And obviously, y'all just heard me say that I owe a little bit of my start to these guys, and so I'm grateful. And I think y'all are killing it up there and doing great things. Now, we'll talk about you and Travis a little bit more. You gentlemen have had an absolute field day on Twitter today. You've had quite a run. And so with that, I'll eat a little bit of humble pie right here. I'll congratulate you on the big commitment of Mike Fasusi, 5-star out of Louisville. How you feeling right now, JP, about the old commitment from Big Mike?
Man, To tell you the truth, Ghost, I mean, it's been a long standing thing, even with specifically OU fans, that for whatever reason, there are some of our people that think Bill Bedenbaugh can't recruit, and I understand that there is a little bit of a caveat to it because he's not really landed the big 5 star, um, especially out of high school. He got Wanya Morris, out of the portal, who was a former 5 star, but
Right.
besides that, like, yeah, we get high 4 stars and some 3 stars because we're OU. And I know you guys feel the same way because you're Texas, and you'll just always, at some rate, recruit well. But
Right.
it just seemed to always avoid him. But Trav and I talk about it ad nauseum because we're like, I understand that, but like, if anybody's got the benefit of the doubt, it's this guy. Like, he's put the most offensive linemen in the league the last decade. Like, that's just a fact. And he's had 2 tackles go in the first round the last 2 years. Like, there's no reason for you to not trust this guy and his evaluations, regardless of honestly what the star is. But I will say it's nice, and I feel like it's a little bit of vindication that he got this 5 star tackle. That obviously everybody in the nation felt like it is one of the premier guys at his position, and I know you guys wanted him a lot too.
I mean, absolutely, and it's not just Texas. Obviously, with those after him, everybody wanted Big Michael Fasusi, and A&M's another one. So you're winning over some big time recruiting, rivals, regional rivals, and so I mean, you can't downplay it. I posted about it today. It wasn't fun, but it's a big get. You can't deny it. And like you said, Bill Bedenbaugh knows his stuff. He's got a ton of skins, a lot of skin on the wall when it comes to offensive line. Think about all the money that his O linemen have made in the NFL, and that's got to be a huge selling point. Anytime that any recruit walks in the doors of your school, and y'all get to throwing a recruiting pitch down, and you have to trust that. If you're an Oklahoma fan, that's something that I couldn't imagine doing. From my side, I would compare it to like not trusting Sark with quarterback recruiting.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, normally I have a lot more comments, so maybe let's see if I can figure this out. But but yeah, I'll see if I can work on the comments. I'm not sure if that's open. Normally, we got people going wild in there, but yeah, I think that it's big for Oklahoma as a program. You've got a pretty solid offensive line class already,
Yeah.
and then there's another big name that you're in for. Andrew Babaloa, I believe. Y'all are still in there for that gentleman, and so he's got a good class. It just improved tremendously today, and it can still even get better. So I guess I can understand people getting frustrated with recruiting, 3, 4 stars at Oklahoma, but when it comes to that guy, I mean, I would have big time concerns with you guys for, you can't judge that man or question him. You got to let him do his thing. Let him
Yeah.
cook.
Have to. Have to.
Have to let him cook.
He's more than proven, in my estimation, that he can get it done. It's been a while since we've had an elite offensive line, but a large part of that, a lot of our fans will tell you, has to do with what we feel is the strength and conditioning. People being a little bit, behind in terms of Benny Wiley when he was here with Lincoln Riley, and he was more of a CrossFit guy than a strength guy, really. And so then you started to see, that go downhill because offensive linemen, like, sure, like, do you want to look good? I mean, maybe, but you'd rather be strong, right? I mean, that's why you see some of
Right.
these offensive linemen that when they get done playing football, when they retire, they often drop a ton of weight. It's like, look, you got to be a big boy to be able to throw your weight in there. And so I think you'll start to see the opportunities for elite offensive lines moving forward. These first couple years getting back with Jerry Schmidt has, I think, been huge. And again, the last 2 years we've had Jerry Schmidt, we've had two, first round tackles. And so I think that that's hopefully proof in the pudding, and that recruits will see that. And I think, Michael Fasusi said that himself, that, Bill Bedenbaugh's work speaks for itself. And hopefully more recruits will lean into that.
That's a good point. Bringing up Jerry Schmidt, a guy that got back to Oklahoma. He was at Oklahoma before he went to A&M, correct? And if you just go look at the Aggies and some of the toughness and physicality they had while Jerry was there, people do definitely underplay and evaluate the strength and conditioning of programs. It's a huge part of a program and development. And you go look at like you said, Benny Wiley, and look at Lincoln Riley over there, and I think people talk about them doing Pilates and yoga and goofy stuff, but yeah, I mean, I love that point bringing up Jerry Schmidt. It's a guy that I definitely wish you didn't have. It'd be a lot easier if you still had some of the defenses that you had under Lincoln Riley, and you could run through you a little bit. But that's what's going to be awesome about it, man. You got Texas and you got Oklahoma. You've got two programs who, at times over the last decade, have been questioned about how physical they can be, about their softness. And this is pertaining more so, obviously, to you guys under the Riley era. And then for Texas, more at times, under Tom Herman there at times, and then 2021, we were pretty soft on defense. Let's be honest here, but they know what they're getting into, and they've known it for a couple of years. That announcement was made of July of 2021 about the move to the SEC, and
Yeah.
you gotta think these guys get dang tired of hearing about how soft they're going to be in comparison to the SEC, and how they don't know how physical that conference is, and how they're just going to get ran through, and how we don't have the big guys. In which, now, don't get me wrong, you better have some defensive tackles and some edge play that's pretty dang good, or they will run through you.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a lot of motivation, is my point,
Yeah.
from both our squad and yours, to go in there and show them, how tough, how physical they can be in the trenches, in the run game. I mean, Texas will know you're going to show up. I don't think effort, physicality, lack of toughness. That's not going to be the reason they drop games in the SEC. Not in my opinion, at least. All right. So I want to look at your schedule for a second, JP.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of talk when it comes to our schedule and your schedule. We were definitely throwing a bone, but that was a bone that there was, it was a calculated bone. There was a silly structure, but they did use a method to form these schedules. And unfortunately for you guys, y'all are really good. For the last part, the last 10 years, we were pretty dang bad. And so schedule wise, we get lucky. You guys get a ton of really cool college football games. I mean, yeah, it's really, really tough, but think about the opportunity that you have a chance to show out and recruit. If you go play Tennessee, Auburn, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Missouri, Bama,
Mhm.
LSU. I mean, those are huge SEC programs, and some of them that are really dang good right now. And so there's a lot of opportunity for Brent Venables and staff to go out and show what they can do, obviously on the field, but then go out and show the recruits that we talked about, that you got to have to bring in big time defensive tackles. You're going to have to bring in big offensive linemen. You're going to have to win in the trenches in this conference, and recruits are going to want to see BV go do that. And so when you see a schedule like this, do you get excited? Do you lose a little bit of breath because you're like, dang man, even if we play some dang good football, there you go, Dante. Even if we play some dang good football, it could still go. We could still go 8-4. How'd you feel when you saw the schedule for the first time?
Yeah. I mean, I think, in a way, some reality sets in just in terms of like, um, this is this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
And yeah, there are some weaker teams in the SEC, but year after year, you're gonna have an opportunity, being the top four team in that conference, to still make the playoff. You know what I mean? Um, and I think for me, the biggest piece was knowing that we still want to have the standard of being Oklahoma. Like we're never gonna be like, oh, like we're okay with being 8-4. We're okay with being 9-3, etc. But at the end of the day, I think with a schedule like this, in this modern era of college football, where you have a 12-team playoff, it gets to a point where, hey, you look at 10 wins. If that's what we get this year, I think we'd be pretty okay with where we're sitting at, especially with the schedule we have. A new quarterback that's starting, you know, an offensive line that we've completely exchanged. And yeah, we'll have one of the better defenses in the league. And we have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, what's up, brother? Um, if I'm not mistaken, we have the most returning production in America, I believe. So that should set us up for success on that side, and help Jackson get his feet wet, if you will. But yeah, I mean, the schedule speaks for itself. It's going to be tough, but I think that realistically, 10 wins is attainable. And then I think when you get to an 11th win, a 12th win, you're talking about a superbly elite season, and a season where you're talking about an SEC championship. You're talking about being a top three team in America. At that point, I think if you get to 11, 12 wins with this schedule in particular.
I mean, and that's the thing. And I talked a little bit on the channel. If y'all were to pull off 9 wins with this schedule, I don't care if you're ranked 17th or 20th. I would be your biggest advocate for you to be in the playoff. Obviously you're talking 11 or 12 wins. That defense is going to be really dang good. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you nothing's impossible. But obviously that's going to be tough with the schedule. It looks like a little mini NFL schedule. I mean, it's pretty cool. Big fan of being in this conference. Don't have to make fun of them anymore and pretend that it wasn't hard. Now we get to say it's hard as hell and go play it. But I'd say, if y'all won 9 games, you'd be more than dang deserving of getting into the college football playoff. Like, absolutely. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of 1-2 loss teams ahead of you that people will scream to get in. I don't care, man. You look at that schedule and you're talking Bama, Missouri, LSU to finish with 2 of the 3 on the road. And then you have another 3-game stretch with Tennessee, Auburn, and Texas with only 1 game at home. That's tough, man. And y'all would more than deserve it if you file 9 wins. What the hell? I see Washington on the screen. What are we doing? All right, I'm not doing it. That was well played. The first thing I saw was Washington. Okay, well done, Travis. But yeah, so tell me, in your opinion, what is a tougher 3-game stretch right here? You're talking Tennessee at home, at Jordan O'Hare and Auburn. And then you have Texas inside the Cotton Bowl. And then the end of the season, you have Missouri on the road, Bama at home, and then at LSU. I think I know which one you're going to say, but which one do you think is the bigger 3-game stretch for your season?
I mean, I'll be honest, on paper, I think you look at it and you say, the um, Alabama, LSU, and man, what was the one I was missing?
Missouri.
Missouri, yeah, the Missouri, Alabama, LSU stretch on paper, because obviously, those are all ranked teams at this very moment in time, like 3 in a row. Obviously,
Right.
Auburn's not ranked at this moment, but
Right.
I think truly for our season, I'm going to say the first 3, because I think that's going to show you where we're at. I think that, even though it's at home, our first SEC game, and we played Tennessee, right, in the last, I think 8 years. We played them twice, 2014, 2015. Last decade. So it's not as if we haven't had experience playing Tennessee, but it's a different Tennessee team than it was then. They've got Nico coming in. There's going to be emotion there with Heupel. And so it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a ranked game. I think we get that win under our belt, we feel good. Obviously, Auburn's not ranked, but going into Jordan Hare, who a lot of people call one of the hardest places to play in general. Our first SEC road game. Can we pull that one off? It's a big
I mean,
piece.
that'll be your first time leaving the state or leaving your campus for a football game that year, because you do have your first 3 or 4 games at home. But I think that's huge for you guys because it gives the offensive line and Jackson Arnold a little bit of time to gel and everything. You're talking Temple, U of H, and Tulane at home. UH should be just enough of competition for them to really, have to do something and perform in that game. So I think, it's a tough schedule, but I do think it helps you out. You're playing those first 4 at home, with the last one being the SEC conference opener, Tennessee coming to town. Heupel's return. A lot of hype is going to be obviously going around Norman for that one.
Mhm.
I did think that you would say the Missouri, Bama, LSU stretch would be bigger, but you made the very savvy, sophisticated answer. Went with those 3. I don't think that you can go 1-2 in those games with Tennessee, Auburn, and Texas.
Yeah.
And then get to your 9 wins that we were talking about, have a chance for the playoffs. If that's the ultimate goal here, and with your defense, you can't write anything off for Oklahoma, because Jackson is a heck of a talent, and there's too many unknowns with your offense to really rule anything out. Now, I will say that with the 1 and 2, you go 1 and 2 in those three there, and then you still have road games at Ole Miss, Missouri, LSU with Bama at home. Obviously the playoff starts to become unreachable in my opinion. So I think that that's the right answer. I think 2-1 there would be a really really big for you guys just because of how tough it is to play in Auburn, how crazy the Red River game can be. You never know,
Yep.
and then Tennessee's going to have a dang good defense, and
Yeah.
so we'll see what Nico can do against a very young quarterback can do on the road against a very experienced and tough Sooner defense. But at the same time, their strength and your weakness, which we don't know if it's a weakness yet, but we do know it'll be a strength for Tennessee with that defense. But it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a lot of good games on that schedule. I'll be watching Oklahoma as much as I can, to be honest. Y'all are going to play in a lot of tight ball games, in my opinion, and it's just going to be about executing. Love to say that, and getting things done. I'll ask you this: what are you thinking about the offense and what they look like with new OC Seth Luttrell? Obviously, Joe John Finley still around. What do you think it looks like? Is it similar to what what Levy was doing as far as all the tempo?
Mhm.
Tell me all the secrets, man. Let's so I can pass them down.
Yeah, man. You're not gonna hear anything from me that you couldn't find anywhere else. So I can't give out no.
It's just ball, man. Watch the tape and then go play.
Yeah. Just watch the tape. It's not. Yeah, but no. In all seriousness, I think that a lot of it's going to be a lot of the same things, especially to make Jackson comfortable. There's going to be a change, I think, in tempo, in my opinion. Just the way that Seth has run his offenses. He's from the air raid scheme, air raid family. However, he's in his career showing a propensity to do what works best at that moment. I think a lot of Sooners fans took issue with Jeff because it seemed that he did not always have a feel for the game. Now, you ask me, I've argued tooth and nail with my own fans that despite that, Jeff Lebby was still a top 5 offensive coordinator in all of college football.
I know
Um,
that's there's a little rivalry within your own fans about
yeah,
whether Jeff Levy. Yeah, I've
yeah,
seen it.
at the end of the day, the stats and where our offense was for both years, to me, it spoke for itself. And I understand that like there's a difference between sometimes having great numbers and being able to win games, and I get that. But I think you can still say somebody's a very good coordinator, if not bordering elite, even if maybe you felt like they could grow in their specific game management skills. With Seth, I think that he's never really had the talent, to have a top 5 offense. He's been at North Texas, North Carolina, and Indiana, and there I believe he at all 3 places. I think at North Carolina he got in the top 10. I believe even in North Texas he got in the top 10. I think Indiana he had in the top 15 or 20. But again, like you're talking about places that are not nearly as talented as Oklahoma is. And so
Of course.
he's an Oklahoma guy. One, Bill Bedenbaugh loves him. And so you have to believe that hopefully with, the talent that we'll have at our disposal this year. I know our offensive line is newer, but, our wide receiver room is one of the deepest in the nation. Unfortunately, took a hit with Jaden Gibson going down. But even with that, we're still super deep. You still have Nick Anderson. You still have Andrew Anthony, who hopefully he, will look even a little bit of what he looked like last year before he tore his ACL. You still have Jalil Farouk, and I know a lot of people want to write him off because of the Alamo Bowl performance, but he's still, one of your better receivers you've had. I mean, he didn't have a touchdown against y'all last year, but I
He
mean,
had a great game against
he
us.
carved y'all up. He carved
Yeah,
y'all up. So
he had a
you know,
tremendous game against us.
you still have him. You got Deion Burks who transferred in, right?
Yeah,
You got JJ Hester who is all 6'4" and 215 pounds and has the opportunity, right, to still kind of show up and see what happens. He's not been healthy, but now he is. So, you have these pieces that can go. You have Gavin Sawchuk, who, was one of the hottest running backs at the end of the year last year. Javante Barnes hopefully is getting healthy, and he has the number 1 running back in the country. Taylor Tatum coming in again. He's a freshman, but you never know. Different
I
things have
mean,
happened. I mean, I'm not Now, Texas fans, and I know you won't take it this way, but Texas fans have had a propensity online to twist what I say. So understand what I'm saying when I say this. I'm not saying Taylor Tatum's beyond Robinson. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is he's the number one running back in this last year's class. What I am saying is he's a 5 star. What I am saying is beyond Robinson, from the day he stepped on the 40 acres, did y'all not feel like he was that dude?
Well, unfortunately for Tom Herman, he wouldn't let him be that dude. He had him standing on the sideline. I think he had like what do you had like 2 carries against you guys his freshman
Yeah,
year in the
not
coach
enough.
game.
Not enough.
But yeah, to make
But y'all
but
knew
to
he
make
had the juice. Y'all knew he had the
absolutely.
juice. So it's like, yes, while Taylor Tatum may like Gavin Sawchuk still is the guy right now. Like, there's nothing to say that Taylor Tatum couldn't get a few touches and be like, oh man, like that guy, he maybe is going to potentially get more touches as the season wanes on. So yeah, it's just stuff like that that I think Seth Latrobe will have at his disposal to be able to use and utilize in different situations. But I think we're going to be, a run heavy offense, and then I think we're going to have air raid concepts as well. That's how I think it's going to work, especially with it being Jackson's first year.
I mean that I was a fan of Levy's offense. It kind of comes from that whole Browse. Obviously, comes from the Browse system, and still implements part of that schemes into his games. And so the tempo and the simplicity of the route running.
See, you see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
What did he just say?
He be hating on me. He be hating on me.
Oh, we do have a question for
He gonna go
Trev.
back and tell people that I like Texas because I actually picked y'all last year to win in
Our
our
game.
show. Yeah, I did. I picked y'all to win by 3,
Did you
and
catch any backlash for that?
yeah, I did.
Of course.
I did. They still talk to me about how can you be an OU fan? I was just being realistic. I felt like we'd
Yeah.
be competitive, but at the time I felt like, man, like I just think that Texas is a little bit more talented. I'll just be honest.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
not
I get
But
it.
I
I
was
mean, we were.
ecstatic that we won. I was ecstatic that we won. You know what I mean?
I mean, at the same time, I said, I think I sent like a good game tweet essentially, and had people getting on me for saying good. But it was a fantastic ball game. It sucked to lose, and sending that tweet was my coping mechanism. So it is what it is. And yeah, all right. So brother Trav asked which game this season each of us are looking forward to the most. That doesn't involve Texas or Oklahoma. JP, you are the guest. Take your time, but go ahead whenever you have an answer for brother Trav.
Um, man, I'm looking forward to Oregon and Ohio State. The reason I say that is because one, like, if I'm not mistaken, the last time they met was in the 2015 national championship, and so for it to be a conference game is amazing. And then I like Dylan Gabriel. I really enjoyed his time here, and I just like him as a person.
Yep.
And so I'm going to be rooting for him, and I hope that he's able to have a really great game. And I think it's just going to be a great game to watch.
I think that'd be a lot of people's top game. It's going to be fantastic. Just the uniforms on that field with Oregon, Ohio State.
Yeah, no problem.
This could be a classic uniform matchup. Obviously, two teams that'll both make the playoffs most likely. It's going to be top notch. I will also be rooting for Dylan Gabriel. I hope they pull it out. I never rooting for the Buckeyes, unfortunately for them. But
Yeah.
as for myself, that's really tough, man. Which game am I most excited about? I'm gonna go a little bit of an off the wall answer here. Shout out to the high Earths to Texas State and San Marcos, right down the road from me. I'm down here in New Braunfels. They're about 10 miles down the road. They get UTSA September 7th, and I've recently realized I'm probably not going to the Michigan game, and I'm just really amped up for that because I think Jeff Traylor is a good coach at UTSA, and then GJ Kinney is a fantastic coach at Texas State. And he's there for now, so I think they're enjoying him while they have him. I think that game is going to be awesome. That's a game that I'm going to show some love to. But I will say overall, obviously, you're talking big time national conference or big time conference national title implications. I'm probably right there with JP as well. I think Oregon, Ohio State. I mean, you're talking about Ohio State who just loaded up. It felt like they took every solid transfer out there. Added Will Howard, added Kalen Downs, added several others. But at the same time, it's not like Oregon stood pat. You know, they've added their own transfer portalers, big time recruits. It's going to be a great one. Georgia Bama is going to be a good one, obviously, but we've seen that one before. It's just the uniqueness of the matchup with Oregon and Ohio State, which, to be fair, we saw a couple seasons ago, but it's not a matchup that we're seeing all the time like Georgia Bama, which we saw last year and the year before and the year before. But so all right, let's see if we have another question in the comments. Just real quick, we'll get to those first. If not, LSU, USC, you got to pick on that one, JP.
And who I feel like will win the game?
Yeah.
Is it at USC?
It's in Las Vegas.
Oh yes, it's a neutral site game. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like LSU will. I think Lincoln, has just shown a propensity to not really be up to the task when it comes to an SEC team.
Yeah.
Obviously we defeated Florida pretty bad in the bowl game, but they wore down a few players and stuff. But,
Yeah.
um,
Everyone defeated Florida nowadays.
yeah, true. So, yeah, no, I'm going to choose LSU. I don't know, what Miller is going to look like for USC. Obviously, he's not going to be a Caleb Williams. I think we know Lincoln Riley can coach offense, and so I think the biggest piece is just going to be seeing what USC's defense looks like. And I know LSU has a newer offense this year too, losing Jay Daniels. So, but if I had to go with a safe pick for me, I think it'd be LSU.
I mean, it's got to be right. That just naturally you're like, I mean, LSU is going to. They've struggled on defense. Obviously, USC struggled on defense, but who would you trust more to have that corrected first? I'm going Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like we talked about with our programs earlier, and this is past tense for our two programs, but like at some point, you got to get tired of being called soft, and you have to be tired of getting ran through and giving up 45 and losing games 45-42,
Yes.
and like having to walk back into the locker room and look your offensive guys in the eyes and face and just I mean, like it's a team game, yes, but I mean, like there's both two sides of the ball, and you got to do your job on your side. And so at some point, I mean, like they have to get better. They have to get better. I mean, like there's just no way. I do think that LSU gets better. I think obviously having Harold Perkins at backer, if he gets back to the season that he had his freshman year, that'd be massive for them. But I don't know. It kind of seems like they played him out of position. So I don't know. I'd let the guys that follow LSU handle that a little better. But I think there's, we're super lucky to have a game like that to kind of kick it all off. What do we got? Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. This weekend. It's that time, man. We're finally there. This time of the year is so slow and it's kind of just dragging by. But once you get here, it almost moves too quickly. So can't wait to take it all in, to check out the opening games. Texas and Michigan is going to be really cool. Do you have an opinion on that game? Is that something you paid much attention to? I know you'll probably find a way to watch that one, but do you have thoughts on the Horns at the Wolverines?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough, right? I think that we don't really know what Michigan's going to be with all the turmoil that's going on in Ann Arbor. Yes, they were a national championship team last year, and they should still have talent, clearly. And you got Sharon Moore, who knows what he's doing in terms of he's been there for a long time. But breaking in a new quarterback, albeit a guy who is just a monster physically. But
he's a monster.
Truly, I don't know what he looks like as a quarterback, and so their defense, I think, is still going to be really good. Always is, and so I think for you guys, it's going to be, does Quinn actually make a jump? Because don't get me wrong, I'll be candid. I'll keep it real. I'll keep it a buck.
Of course,
how we feel.
Always.
While Quinn has been good, he's been nowhere near what y'all should have expected him to be for you. And I understand that you got to the playoff last year, but for me, I would have expected last year for him to have 30 plus touchdowns, at least, right? Like, because we're talking about I saw a few months ago there was, I don't know if it was a scout or just somebody doing some typical all 22 film work, but he's like, oh, like Quinn reminds me of Baker, and I was like, well, one, I don't think their games are really all that. To me, I don't think their games are that similar, but also Baker just was better to me than Quinn has been. I don't think that's crazy to say. I mean Baker had an amazing first 2 years at OU, even before his Heisman season. Even before his Heisman season, Baker was carving up teams. And I know it's a different offense. I know it's not necessarily the same. But for me, like I just don't feel like Quinn has taken that step, which is why he's not in the league right now. It's why he came back. Can he? If he takes that next step, I think that y'all still will be dangerous. But if he's what he was last year, to me, I think that gives you guys an opportunity to still be a fringe playoff team. But I don't think you guys will be an SEC contender, in my opinion.
Um, First and foremost, I mean, I fully agree. I think that there is a necessary jump that has to be made from Quinn. I've said this on the timeline. I think by now I think fans hopefully can understand. I'm not trying to be a hater. If I do have questions or concerns about someone, it doesn't mean I love them any less. So I'm starting there. Quinn is my guy. He's QB1 for me, and I love the guy. At the same time, it's more than fair to say, hey, another jump needs to be taken. There's several plays and instances in games last year where you just kind of you scratch your head a little bit. A guy of his talent and of his ability, you thought, hey. But I will say this: I do think that Quinn took a jump from 2022 to 2023. I think it was a pretty good jump. I posted a highlight yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, JP, but it was from the Iowa State game in 2022, and or I think I quote tweeted a highlight. It's from the Iowa State game in 2022 where Quinn's just like kind of lost in the pocket, like turns to his left, throws the ball. I mean, he's 10 to 12 yards behind the line of scrimmage and then throws the ball to, I think, a running back that's on the ground behind him. So it's a lateral that, I mean, it's a goofy looking play. Go look at it on the timeline because I just absolutely butchered that description of the play. But I mean, it was like, that's something you might have saw in like fifth or sixth grade, Pee Wee football. Junior high quarterbacks aren't really throwing the ball backwards behind the line of scrimmage. And, you know, unless it's designed double pass or something silly, or a screen, obviously. But so I think he did take a jump. I think a jump was made from 2022 to 2023. Now, at the same time, I think that between him getting injured and at South Lake Carroll, the last year he was there before he left and graduated early, and then spending a year at Ohio State where he didn't play any, I think that lack of, or that period where he had, not very many reps at all of football other than practice reps, not game reps. And you're an athlete, and you know that game reps and practice reps are different things. And so, I think he was just a lot further behind than people wanted to believe on our side. And
Yeah.
I don't blame you for having an opinion on Quinn as far as, him needing to take that jump. We look at the Oklahoma game and what did he have? We had 3 turnovers, He could have made a little bit of better pass to Jatavian Sanders, and that ball doesn't get deflected inside the 5-yard line and intercepted. And hey, like once again, I love the guy, but let's keep it real. Let's be real about it. Keep it candid, like my man said. And there's room for a jump. I mean, you can always grow as a player, especially these college guys. NBA, NFL, MLB. You see more consistency. These college guys are young kids. There's going to be, you hope, development and you hope growth. And so we've seen that with Coach Sarkisian and his quarterbacks over time. And so yeah, I do believe that there will be that jump. But I will tell you that the reason that I'm hesitant to just sit there and say, yeah, like I think we have the defensive talent and the talent on the offensive line, wide receiver to go win 11 games, but I'm hesitant to make that call and make that prediction because we are going to have to see another jump from Quinn because we're going to see better opponents.
Yeah.
Our schedule is not as hard as yours. Yes, I fully agree. It is still more difficult than the Big 12 schedule.
Yeah.
Now there's, not to knock the Big 12, but there's several teams in there, last year, TCU that was a little bit down, who almost beat us. A couple of other teams that were just a little bit down from their normal self. Texas Tech, normally gives us a better fit than a
Mhm.
50-point game.
Mhm.
But the schedule is better, is my point. I'm trying to give them some credit, but it is better or more difficult. And so we got to see the jump. Absolutely. As a Texas fan, I'll say first and foremost, if Quinn makes a big jump, then yeah, the roof could pop off on this thing. Now, if he doesn't, that's where my floor for the season, kind of like you just said, that's where I'm talking about like a 9-3 season could take place. And we're lucky enough to have, a surplus of talent everywhere else. Um, Anything less than 9-3, and I would have, obviously we'd have to see how it all played out, but I would have concerns. That's where I would start to, I know you'd be smiling ear to ear if we found a way to go 8-4 or worse with Quinn Ewers and the offensive line we have and all the
Yeah.
defensive talent. I know you'd be a happy camper. Trav would have a lot to say probably. I'd have to mute that guy for a month or two. But 9-3 is my floor. I'll go out and say this. So Trav, JP, if we if we develop bad blood down the line and you want to clip this and blast me if we somehow go 8-4, feel free. But I think the floor is 9-3. But like you said, the rest depends on Quinn and depends
Yeah.
on that jump. Now we obviously caught a little bit of a bad break with the running back situation. Um, you
Yeah.
know, Thinking about your guy Jaden Gibson, hopefully, obviously a wide receiver, but hope he everything goes well for him in his recovery. You don't want to see these high school kids, man, who are so dang close to getting on the field and competing, and they've worked, all spring camp, summer camp, and they're finally here in this moment, and then an injury takes them out. And so Christian Clark, CJ, Jaden Gibson, thinking about you guys, prayers for you guys. Most important thing is staying with it, and obviously those guys are all going to do so. But yeah, man. So I'm really, really, really long way of telling you I agree with you. It comes down to what type of growth Quinn's going to make, and then I think we're going to get better play than expected from our interior defensive line. And I'm honestly, a little bit more worried about the secondary just because of what we've seen in past than I am about the interior defensive line because I think Broughton and Collins and a couple other cats will make sure that we're okay there. Plus, the edge play will help.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, there's an avenue out there where you go to Michigan in week 2 and you're not ready for basically what right now I'm kind of thinking might be like a wildcat quarterback type of situation because I don't expect much from that kid as far as through the air, and I think
Yeah.
we're gonna really really put a lot of heat on him. But there's an avenue where we go turn the ball over a couple times when we lose that football game. And then you're turning around and you've got Oklahoma and Georgia back to back. And you're talking about a Sooner team who has that first 4 games at home, could easily go 4-0 there. And then they go to Auburn. And that defense at minimum, you're going to be in the game in Auburn at worst. Your defense is really, really good. And Peyton Thorne and that offensive line are still developing. The offensive line is probably not good enough for them to just whip y'all down. Like that's going to be a good football game, in my opinion. So there's an avenue where y'all come in there, as a top 10, 15 program, undefeated, which you'd obviously be top 10 if you're undefeated against those Tennessee and Auburn games will get you there. And I mean, y'all get us, and then we had turn around and have to go to Georgia. So I mean, like we still have to play some really good football in the front half of our schedule. Similar to you guys with your Tennessee, your Auburn, your Texas stretch. Ours is a little more spaced out, but the Michigan game, the Georgia games are should be a little bit tougher than Tennessee and Auburn. But yeah, man, I'm really curious to see. I know you probably have quieted or tried to quiet a lot of Texas fans on the timeline that are just, absolutely guaranteed we're going to go win double-digit games, make the playoffs again, and just rattle on. Which, yeah, I'm hoping they're all right. But I'm not as quick to get there. I need to see it on the field. Let's see Quinn take that growth. Let's make sure we're not getting busted in the passing game. But
Yeah.
for big chunks, but we'll see, man. It's almost time to play those games and get to it. And I will. What was that? Go ahead.
I said we're close.
Yeah, absolutely, man. As far as Sooner home games, or Sooners able to find you there on campus watching games every Saturday at the Palace, or what are you normally doing on game days?
Unfortunately, no. If I lived in Oklahoma, then
Oh
definitely.
man, yeah, you're quite a ways away. That was a
Yeah,
silly
yeah.
question. Yeah.
No, you're okay, dog. Yeah. Unfortunately, being in Indy, I don't have the luxury of being so close. Now, I try to make it down to Oklahoma every year. My family's from there. My mom lives in just outside of Norman. My sister just graduated from OU. She ran track there. Just
Awesome.
graduated this year, and
What did
she's
she run in? What events?
100, 200, 4x1. So she's a
Oh,
sprinter.
okay.
Um,
So I'm not gonna challenge her to a race. And
yeah, you
no,
probably get a good idea. But
I
yeah,
get
she's
a
living in OKC now. So I try to go down and catch a game and hang out with Trav and whatnot. I caught an away game last year. It was the closest away game that's ever been to me, Cincinnati, and so we went down to
oh
Cincy.
yeah, man.
And so,
That's so
that was nice. I'm looking forward to whenever it's going to be hard to get tickets, it's going to be expensive, but when we play Michigan here in the next few years,
right.
um, that's going to be a game I look forward to going to. But yeah, I mean, I get up and look forward to watching it on TV and get ready to roll.
I mean, there's definitely days, man, where I've gone to DKR and I've in the last decade we've taken some home losses have been a little embarrassing, and I'm just like, I could have watched a whole day of college football instead of coming here for 4 hours and just being absolutely pissed off. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, dealing with
that's
this.
just part of it. But then again, like you miss a really cool game at home and they win, and you're like, dang, I wasn't a part of the 105,000 that went crazy when that moment happened. And so it's a double edged sword indeed. But I'll definitely I'll be in Dallas. I won't miss that one. I'm hoping to run into brother Trav up there. I know that it'll be a wild one, man. I'm out for blood. I need that vengeance. It's pretty early in the game, but you have a feeling on that? You got a little prediction that you can tease us with, or anything to say there?
What game? Sorry, remind me.
Sorry, our game, the Red River. I was
Oh, the
saying I
Red
definitely
River.
want
Yeah,
to. I want
that's
to say
what I
want to see
call it.
Trav there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that this is going to be a year like 2022 felt like it was like a toss up, and then everything happened. Well, until for me,
Yeah,
until
yeah.
Dylan was not available, then it was like nah. And then obviously, I think there was a lot of Texas fans that came in super confident last year, and we did. We did. I still feel like it's a general toss up. I mean, I believe that we'll have the better defense, unequivocally. I think that you guys will have the more experienced offense. And so I think it's going to be about if Jackson can make plays and if your defense is going to be able to hold up, and specifically in the secondary. And, I think whichever one, wins that battle, that team's going to have the better chance to win the game. If Jackson is erratic and throws some picks, you guys are going to have a good chance. If Jackson's carting y'all up, we'll have a good chance. That's how I truly feel about it at this point. But I'm going to roll with my Sooners this year. I'm going to put the spread at 3 points. I think it'll still be a close game, as it has been. Besides, the 149-0 randomness that happened.
I
Um,
told. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna say 28 to 24. Oh, you.
Okay. I know. I just had to get it. I know that you mentioned earlier that you took the horns last year, so I was like, well, let's give him a little chance to redeem himself early on, and then you got your own show. You get them going for sure. Yeah, last year it felt like this for us. I mean, it felt like every time we did something good, y'all just countered it with a turnover. I think Quinn a fumbles, interception to start the game. I mean, it was just it's like, hey, let's get off to a good start today. INT, and dang it. Um, but yeah, no, it's gonna be a good time. We have coped a little bit over the Fasusi loss today. Pretty impressive winning a natty with UMass, so I haven't tried those guys out. Bet you're not doing that on Heisman though, Tunnel. If you are, you're a college football god.
Heisman is rough. Listen, I didn't. I actually didn't say anything about you coping with the
No,
Fasusi loss, but I can. I could talk about it if we want to go there, Tunnel. We can have a conversation.
I was
Is
saying I've done the coping. Not you haven't mentioned it, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
led myself into it because it's definitely a huge win, man. Like you mentioned,
Tell him,
Beatonville
Trav.
hasn't really pulled in that big cat. Oh Christ, here we go.
Tell him, Trav. Yeah, I listen, and like you said, watch the doers don't matter. Students info. Um,
Oh, Christ.
Listen, at the end of the day, I just want y'all to keep. I just want Texas fans to keep it a buck. You know, just say that you lost the recruitment. It's okay to say that. Like that, it's not that you didn't want him. It's not that he only went to OU because he was going to have a better chance of playing earlier. Like it, the guy that you guys say is going to play in place of Kelvin Banks the next year is, a 3-star who you say developed, which is fine. That's absolutely can be the case. Like 3 stars can develop, and I truly believe that. I don't think anybody would say that, but I think it's also then crazy to act like he would have an easier time playing here when we're going to have 2 4-star tackles that will literally be here 2 more years, like this year and his freshman year. So it's not like he's going to play right away for us either. So what are we trying to say? Just be honest and just say, hey, he likes Bill Bedenbaugh better than Kyle Flood. It's okay to say that. Doesn't mean Kyle Flood's a bad offensive line coach. It just means we won this battle.
And it's okay to say that. And like, yeah, it stinks because naturally you're like, you should like my school better. He should like my coach better. I don't trust your coach. He's a snake. That's just naturally how we feel in college football. And sometimes, it's obviously not true at all. Is BV a snake? No. Seems like a pretty stand-up guy. Coaches his kids hard as hell. Seems to be pretty genuine. Is A&M's coach a bad guy? No, I actually like him too. I prefer that you go back to like Lincoln Riley and they go back to Jimbo Fisher, and y'all become a lot more hateable as far as coaches. So when you have a guy like Venables, and it's like, yeah, it sucks, but you're gonna give credit where it's due. And Bedenbaugh pulled in a massive fish there,
Yeah,
and so Tunnel's sticking with it. He said that
it's
he
okay.
wants playing
If
time.
you want to feel that way, that's fine. I mean,
I
you
mean,
know,
at the same time, like Texas does have 5-star, Brandon Baker waiting in the wings behind Kelvin Banks, but you know how athletes are, man. And Michael Fasucci's over here thinking like, there's no one I can't be out to go play tackle. So I don't think that he's a guy that's scared of anybody. That's not a guy that has probably ever had that issue in his life.
that's one.
And
It's one spot. It's one dude. Like he can play. He can play both tackles. I mean, he's not. I know everybody wants to be left tackle, but it's not like they can't plug him in at right tackle to get him on the field. If he's
right,
that like that, that has no
right.
bearing on me.
And I mean, and trust me, like inside, I'm like burning with rage, and I'm like, how could he pick OU? And this is just me on the outside coping. So I get you, Tunnel. It sucks, I mean, he chose Oklahoma. We got to go line up a play against this kid, and we thought we had a great shot to, have him in burn orange. And so, I'm right there with you. Make him pay for it. That's JP. That's probably how you'd feel if somebody chooses Texas over your Sooners. It's just like, hey, let's get on the field. Let's make them regret their decision. And that's really all that you can do. Well, the transfer portal exists now, so I guess with enough luck, you pull a Brandon Thompson out of the transfer portal in the old Red River rivalry flip. But yeah, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't think that recruiting wise, y'all have anything to worry about. Obviously, y'all have done really, really well. People doubted Venables and y'all's recruiting, but your defensive line, y'all have done a pretty dang good job. Your offensive line class is shaping up. This is going to be the last positive thing I'm saying. Your turn.
Not to interrupt you, brother. I
Oh no,
apologize.
you're great.
I want to rewind that a little bit and just talk about because I talked to people about this. I talked to my boy Stephen Nagati, Fanatic Perspective. I talked to Nino. I talked to Kieran. Like we I remember being on Spaces when Brent Venables got hired, and people were like, "Man, Venables is gonna be terrible. He hasn't been a head coach. He's not gonna know what he's doing. All this stuff. He's not gonna know how to recruit." And for me, it was just such a crazy take because this guy has sat under 3 Hall of Fame coaches for 30 years. Bill Snyder, Bob Stoops, and Dabo Swinney. He's won 3 national championships as a defensive coordinator. He's been an elite, like not like a good elite defensive coordinator for like 25 out of the 30 of his years of being a defensive coordinator. And with that comes knowing how to coach. With that certainly would come knowing how to recruit. So I think the notion was always just preposterous to me that Brent Venables was going to fall on his face, particularly recruiting. Now you were talking about game management stuff like that. I still feel like you can't say necessarily either or how a guy's going to react in a situation. But given that that guy has three Hall of Fame coaches on speed dial, you have to feel like he's got a wealth of resources, right? It's the same way, same reason, excuse me, that y'all believe Arch Manning is going to end up being very great because no matter what, he has his uncles in his freaking back pocket, right? It's the same
Right.
thing. Okay. So you have that. But the fact that this guy has had the defenses he's had, has put the players in the league he has, and has recruited the way he did at Clemson, at Oklahoma before, to think that he wasn't going to be a good recruiter was crazy to me in the first place.
I mean, just in my lifetime, man. I mean, like, yeah, in the '90s, I know it was a weird stretch for you guys, but like, y'all been really dang solid for over 2.5 decades, and Venables was a big part of that. I used to watch you guys as kids in at the Cotton Bowl, and Venables would walk out, almost not all the way to the hash marks, but on every time out. And dude, he would get your crowd so riled up. Obviously he was a defensive coordinator under Stoops at the time, and he would get your crowd so riled up, man. And I was just like, this dude's got a lot of energy, obviously really passionate, which is great for being a DC, obviously. And I was like, dang. And then obviously y'all's defense is really, really good. And so you talk about him under Bob Stoops, obviously played under Snyder, and then obviously with the time with Dabo. When Coach Sarkisian was hired, there's a lot of Texas fans that some Texas fans, I won't say a lot, that didn't like it because it wasn't, one of the big head coaches at a big school that we didn't just like, kind of poach from him. And it was a guy who was, definitely unproven. And so that's what I said, man. Same thing. This is a guy that had worked with Pete Carroll and had worked with Nick Saban. Now, albeit Venables had worked with those guys, all together for a lot more years than Sark had worked with Carroll and Saban.
Mhm.
But still, man, that is very important. And for a coach to be able to sit there and soak in that type of knowledge, to watch how the ins and outs, the whole daily operation runs, just the tips and the little secrets that you pick up about how to run things and to do your, to do your stuff in the program. It's all important. And like, yeah, I said it to Travis, and I've said it multiple times on this channel, but I think the longer that Venables is at Oklahoma, he will only get better. And so please go 5-7, JP. Can y'all chill out this year? To take
Absolutely.
just a little 3-game losing streak first to start conference, and then because I really do think the longer that Venables is there, that he recruits better and better on the offensive and defensive line. I really do. And so it'd be cool if that wasn't a reality and we didn't have to talk about that. But at the same time, I know 2022 is an outlier. I told Travis that I would trade all the losses that I've watched, Texas for that. I don't care about 49-0. It felt great. I had a good 4 hours at the fair that day, but like I want the other games. I'd trade them all. And so I think with Sark and BV, man, we're gonna have a lot of special Red Rivers coming up, no doubt.
Is this your boy over here, Gage? This your dude?
Uh oh.
Does
Which
he
one?
know?
Which one we want?
Does he know what you talking about? Why is he asking me about Levy? He not here, dog.
Jackson Arnold Palmer is Action Jackson. Don't matter.
No, he asked how are y'all going to score points with Levy calling. Oh, without. Okay, there you go. Okay,
I didn't.
I was about to say he not here, dog. Come on now. Come on now.
Gage is really really good at getting in the comments and getting the guests to react. He did a great job last night. He had Vern Funquist kind of enraged in the first 10 minutes, and then after about a half hour, they were best friends. So I told him after the show, I was like, "Man, your character arc in the comments was beautiful last night." But here he is back at it. He's got another character arc to work on tonight. But I don't know how. I mean, do you have offensive concerns without Libby? I mean, are you? I know that obviously it's a different offense, a different offensive line, receivers, and quarterback. But I mean, okay, just making sure as far as uh,
Yeah, no,
just
no,
making
I
sure.
don't. I don't. And Seth Luttrell is proven enough. Now, here's what I'll say. Does that mean? Am I saying we're going to have a top five offense out the gates? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I think our offense is not going to be anemic. We're going to be good enough, and we have the
Yeah.
skill, we have the talent available. We have a 5-star quarterback. Like Seth Luttrell is proven enough as a play caller. He's had top 10 offenses elsewhere at schools that don't have nearly the talent. that Oklahoma has. So
I
um,
don't think scheme will be an issue for you
no,
guys.
not at all, not at all. I don't. And look, I'm gonna respond to Dante too. Look, he don't. Danny's not scared. Danny is crazy. He's crazy. Have you not learned this by now? You don't. That man should be making NFL money right now. He should have been a second round pick. He came back. So y'all have fun with that.
Dude, yeah,
Y'all
how
have
does
fun with
that
that.
happen? How does that happen? I was convinced, there's no chance in hell that Danny Sussman comes back to Oklahoma. Um,
I think NIL, honestly, I think without NIL, it doesn't happen. I think that helped. Should he still have gone? Some people would say yes, but I think you have to pay attention to that if you're fans of elsewhere.
God, I love Gage,
um,
man.
I think you have to worry about that if you're a non-Oklahoma fan because this is a lot of times what was happening, with Clemson, when they were in their runs, they were so good because they'd have some guys that would just come back that probably weren't expected to, and it's the reason Brent Venables has some of the policies he has. It's the reason he goes after some of the guys that he some of the guys that he does because he gets guys to buy in, and when you can get a guy that should have been like I said, at the very least probably a third round pick, and at his best, a lot of people thought he could have been a second round pick. When you get that guy to come down and say, I'm coming back to Norman, Oklahoma, because I don't want to just be a great linebacker. I want to be a legend. That is when you get culture set and when teams can become super dangerous. And it's why our defense is going to be super good this year because we have him and we have Billy Bowman, who also came back
Yep.
in the second year. So, I mean,
Speaking of your secondary, do you have a concern or two at corner? I'm not.
yeah,
I read reports and I have seen some Texas media that is concerned or not concerned, but it's reported that there might be a spot at corner so that y'all are still trying to maybe decide on a potential starter or what to do there. Do you have any care to comment on that? For what it's worth, I'm just spreading the message through the
yeah,
grapevine.
no, I don't. Gentry, if he's healthy, is going to be on one side.
Right.
I think what you're talking about is probably that Woody's being moved around, and that somehow because Woody's now being moved around and looked at as a utility in the secondary, that means we have a concern for that other
That
spot. But no,
was
what it really means is that we're not concerned about the other spot at all, and we want to utilize Woody and his versatility in different ways.
right.
It's allowing us to utilize Woody in that way, and I think that, to be honest, that should worry other people. If we're to the point where we're having a guy not locking in Woody Washington, who's going to be in his fifth year and was has been pretty good for us on the other side, just look out for Kanai Walker. That's her name. I'm just throwing that out there. Just look out for him. Just.
I'd be careful with you and Trav. He told me a story about how he told, I guess it was a scout before the last year, about watch out for who intercepted Quinn on the first pass.
Oh,
Was it
Gentry.
Gentry? Yeah, it was Gentry. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I told him to watch out for him. Then he picks off the first pass of the game, and feels like a god there inside the Cotton Bowl for the next couple of hours. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Gentry.
be careful with you guys. But I think that overall, man, the program for you guys is in a good shape, and that just 1 year where you're really going to have to fight and make sure the O line, gets everything together, and that Jackson is as mistake prone as he can, or not, or as mistake free as possible. And it gives you guys in a really good defense a chance to stay in games, because one thing that defense doesn't deserve is an offense who can't stay on the field, who turns the ball over and gives up a lot of short fields and things like that.
Mhm.
So as long as your offense can just he's somewhat competent on the O line, and Jackson is who a lot of you Sooners think he is. Then yeah, with that schedule, man, you're gonna have a shot. If you can backdoor 9, 10 wins, obviously you'll get into the playoffs. Recruiting will continue to develop, and
Yeah.
as I said, the longer Venables is at Oklahoma, the better I think that he does. And so we'll see, though, man. We're so dang close, but we're still, our teams don't play this weekend, and
Um,
so we'll have to wait a little bit. Um, I'll ask you this: as far as a whole in the SEC, are you ready to make a SEC title game prediction? If you have a show where y'all are doing predictions or something, that's completely fine, man. Don't feel like you need to spoil
No,
it here.
not at all. Um, I mean, for this year, I think it's going to be. I genuinely think it's going to be Georgia and Alabama. I know Alabama's got a new guy in there, but you know what? As much as like we talk about how we felt like we've regressed every year we had Lincoln, the first year of Lincoln's tenure, we dang near won national championship.
Yeah.
If we beat Georgia, we probably do. So, um, what I'm saying is, I think Alabama still is going to have a lot of the remnants of Nick Saban still left over, and a lot of his things, and I think you then have a potential for an offensive resurgence for Alabama with Jalen Milroe and him being better. And so, I still think you can't write Alabama off. I love, I'm not trolling. I'm not trying to hate. I don't think Texas is going to have a season where they get to the SEC championship game. I think that there's a good chance that y'all can go 10-2, and obviously potentially still make the playoff. I just don't know that I see y'all going 11-1, 12-0, and getting into the SEC championship game in your first year in the SEC. Though you have the opportunity, I think you have better opportunity than clearly us with more of the schedule that you have. And hopefully your offense will be able to. If Quinn takes that jump, I'll say this: if Quinn takes that jump, I would give you guys a better shot of being in that SEC championship game,
Absolutely.
honestly.
I mean, until I see somebody get in there and handle Georgia, um, it's just hard to not see them in Atlanta. But
Why is it? Why is it Copen?
I don't know. I don't know, Tunnel. I mean, like it's tough. I think here, me and Gage actually, uh, the guy here. I don't know. We're gonna do a prediction show on Friday. We have a guest coming on, but we're gonna do a prediction show Friday, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you because you're my guy. But I have Texas and Alabama. I won't say the winner, but I have Texas and Alabama playing for the SEC championship.
You don't have Georgia
So
in
I don't have Georgia. I actually have
there?
Georgia dropping a couple of games.
Ooh.
I
Hey,
think there's enough in there, man.
look this up. I'm not part of this. I'm just saying.
You're not you're not. But you're talking they got Bama and Jalen Milroe in late September. You come to Austin, you have to play Tennessee, you have to play Ole Miss, and now it's Georgia. Georgia, they're probably laughing about those games on their schedule.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, it feels like something goes down. It feels like the prohibitive favorite Georgia in a wild conference. I don't. It's just a feeling more than anything.
Yeah.
Not because of the ball in the field, because the dog should be playing bully ball and running smooth over people. If we're going just by paper, but so I'll say that. Yeah, you guys check in on Friday, me and Gage, and we'll have another unnamed guest on there that is going to join us. Y'all will enjoy her. We're going to do a big prediction show for the whole college football playoffs, the Big 12, Big 10, ACC, SEC. Might even lump them group of 5 conferences in there on that. JP, I got one more thing for you, if you don't mind, before I get you out of here, bro.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna see if you can do something that Travis could not do. We ask one trivia question to every guest. I say we, like, there's multiple. It's me. I'm asking one trivia question per guest. And I've got one for you here. I had a big smile on my face a moment ago because you referenced the 2017 Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl is a game that obviously that's an all-time college football classic that y'all played that day. Baker Mayfield, I really thought you guys were going to pull that one out. That's that first year of Lincoln Riley's tenure with OU that you referenced. But all right, man. Pretty easy question for you here. Let me go back and double check this here because I don't want to. If I got that wrong, I'd be in trouble.
I want to know what
But
Trey's question was. We got it wrong.
no, that's the thing. Is I can't. It's got to be hard enough for you to, for me not to know it. I have to look it up, and then hopefully for you just maybe to know it. But all right, I can't. Where's the question go? There it is. All right. So Georgia wins 54-48 in overtime. Two Sooners throw for touchdown passes in that game. Who were the two Sooners?
That's a question.
That's the question.
Okay. Baker and CD.
Correct. All right. I wanted to make that a little bit harder. I really wanted to ask you who CD's pass was to, but I feel like that was even easier. You
It
know,
was to, it
Baker.
was to Baker. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That big of a game, but yeah, I've been getting some flack from other guests for how hard I'm making the question, so I'm trying to find a middle ground.
What did you ask Trav? Don't tell. Do you remember?
Absolutely. You
Don't
didn't
tell me
watch?
the answer.
Yeah.
Don't tell me the answer. 'Cause
But Trav's is a lot. Trav's was a lot tougher. Okay, and
that's fine.
I'm old. I think I'm a little older than you guys, so that helps me. But I asked him in the 2001. This was really painful for me to talk about. But in the 2001 Red River game, Oklahoma wins 14-3. Texas is down 7-3. We get the ball inside the 5-yard line. With I think like right around 2 minutes to go. You know, got to go 97 yards. Number 2 Oklahoma, number I think 3 Texas, and this is the Teddy Lehman play, of course, right? And I asked him who he jumped over, who Roy Williams, which running back from Texas that was supposed to be blocking on this play, who he leapt over was what I asked.
That is a tough question.
There's exactly. And see, yeah, you're a ball knower, Trav. That's just how it goes. But I will say that oh, this one's even better. I will say that, you know, he didn't know it, and that I don't think anybody that I talked to as Texas fans would have really known that, except for a very select few people, because it was a really interesting decision by Mac Brown to put in what is about our 4th-string running back on 1st and 10 there inside our own 5. But yeah, so Brett Robin was the answer to that. Roy Williams leapt over him. And so, yeah, funny how Trav wants to chime in, and now he made, because of Trav complaining how hard it was. You got the softball question, so it benefited you. And
he always throw me assists. I appreciate that's why I love him, because
there you go. Well, yeah, man, we're hopefully do this again sometime. Hopefully, get you and Trav both in here at the same time. And you know, love you guys. I appreciate you doing it. Thank you guys, for everyone in the comments. I will say this. Go hit the link in the bio. Go to the Twitter, the YouTube channel, and like and subscribe to the videos. We got some cool stuff up. Last night did a fun one with Maggie, Franny, Vern. Like, it was a show. Yesterday morning we had Dia Bell on, 2026 QB commit for UT, and just a quick little 30-minute story on Dia. This dude never stops, man. He's relentless. Oh man! Wait till I have to ask him another question. Next time that guy comes on, wait till his question is going to be the hardest question ever asked to any football media related individual ever. But guys, thank you very much. I'm gonna let you get out of here. Once again, JP, thank you. Hook 'em horns. We'll see you soon, JP. See you guys on the timeline and on the channel again soon.